and my wife said to work at her job. So I get on the razor with my flip-flops, and somebody said that was a bad idea. I'm like, it's not a bad idea, no big deal. So I get on it. I got on flip-flops, and then I'm going down. He's got a driveway that does like a little loop in front of his house, right? And then to the garage. So I go down the driveway toward the garage, and it's not as steep, but I have my flip-flops on, and I was like, woo, it was kind of razor with my flip-flops. And then I was like, oh, well, I took it back up the driveway again, and I did the other side later on. We moved some stuff and got ready for the yard sale, and I went barefoot this time. Well, here's what I learned about razors. There's a metal brake on the back that is made of aluminum, which is transfers heat really fast and gets really hot really fast. So the moment I started braking on the steeper hill up down the driveway, immediately my foot pulled off because it was hot, right? And I didn't slow down, but because it was so hot, I literally put a blister on my foot right before. I mean, I didn't see the blister till later, because shortly thereafter I got the blister. I was going too fast, and I decided, I think I hesitated between going for the grass or going for the turn that would have led me a little bit back uphill. And I just went for the concrete, and I just nailed it. And I got all kind of like old man, baby, embarrassing things. Luckily, my wife wasn't there to witness it, because she would have just been upset. But it was fun to play on it, but I am now a big brush burn again on my legs. Throwback 1984 when I got in my motorcycle accident. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, baby boom. So the Elvis movie, they embarrassed themselves. I totally get why they did that. So have y'all done any work on this since we were on last week? By any chance?
No. No, sorry.
No, that's all right. Look, I didn't either, right? Because like I said, the greatest thing about this is that doing this live, this is what you did for me, Patrick, for Platform App Builder. Like doing this live it just me to do it, right? So let's just jump in the trailheads, and we'll see. I think you guys have access to this doc. And again, anybody who's watching this in the series, I'll correct the series number. We got it. When you log, if you make a comment and then log in, or sign up with the live QA call link that I'll put in the description eventually, if it's not in one of my other videos, then I'll make sure you get access to this document that has all of our notes in it. And when you join us, if you want to join us live in the session, then you just have to set it up with me so we can get you on. We're doing them every Wednesday and Thursday. Now, I will tell you this, Wednesday, August 10th, that week, I'd like to move it because I'm going to a thing on August 10th. So if y'all, I'm just putting it out there early, that the live session on August 10th is, I'm not going to have it then. I'm not going to do that Wednesday session, but that's just FYI for everybody who's watching. So
sounds good.
Yeah, because I'm going to watch a guy. I'm going to watch a guy talk about what was he doing? He's talking about he researches monkeys, and he's written a bunch of books how monkeys and humans are so much alike, and the implications of that, I guess. I don't know, whatever that means. I'm looking forward to it. It ought to be kind of interesting. I was watching at lunch. I took a break and watched Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, the new version of it. And it was talking about the guy, Volnolinov in Russia, who basically saved the world from hunger and starvation because he worked on genetics and making plants that are, more resistant and better producers. and saving a bunch of seeds. And basically, if you ate today, you ate a vegetable today, you probably, it's because of his seed storage that you ate. I don't know. I didn't catch that. I didn't really understand that last way they closed it. But you know, that guy invented a way for people not to die of hunger until Californians figured out that they could be snooty about their food and try to keep people from eating. Anyway, so let's look at this, considerations for relationships. And then I do have to go in and remember, I have to open up my hands-on org. Let me do that while we got it. Because these are all pretty simple. These are all in the, we are in, I did the videos with these links for company-wide org. So I just want to make sure you guys have gotten it, that you've completed all these ones. Talked about account teams and what was on this document in the last video, MFA and what's on this document. I went a little far until I realized, oh, I don't have to go so far. And then we talked about the permissions and access and what we haven't done the trails for territory management yet, but we had a pretty lively discussion on it in the recording for last week. So now we're on to objects and applications. And the considerations for relationships, I'm just going to stay on this page. I'm not going to go anywhere else. But this basically available in all editions. And it also applies to Salesforce Connect external objects, but Salesforce Connect is a, what is it? That is a, oh, am I on the? Huh, looks like it did create one for me, but we never used it. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to keep using, I'm going to keep using my Brave Moose. See how that goes. Okay. And then I can go back to that and we'll go there. So let's see what they talk about here. Because honestly, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting all logged in. I don't know why they make you log in for help. Like that just, I guess they're tracking something. Somebody's got a job to do. They're tracking something. So we're in, let's see what notes we can take for considerations for relationships. How do I want to do this? These are our notes. We lost a little note. Oops. That little gizmo that it does. Oops. Chen's in there. You know, we got the agenda, and I like these little, anyway, we'll see how this goes. We had the little, oh, I don't know, this little checkbox thing came in, but all right, would you, Chen, you're taking, you're able to take notes in this thing?
I can. I don't usually take notes in the file, but yeah, if you want to add some checkboxes.
I think so. Well, then maybe so. Let's just see. Let's just look at considerations for relationships. So remember, relationships are, they occur when you link two objects together, so you don't have to re-enter data, but you want to connect it to another object that contains more data about what you're looking for. Look at this. And the world we live in, where possible, we change non-inclusive terms to align. You know, I'm just going to say this. I don't care how you relate to yourself and others, you know, in your life. But if you really want to be included, if you're a person that doesn't make people include you a certain way, you'll probably be included more. Like that's a way to be included. You know, just like, you know, don't worry about it. If people, nobody's going to exclude you here, but you know, it'll be all right. It'll all work out. People will call you whatever they call you, in front of your face or behind your back. So I did read through this though, and there are a couple of things that I thought were good, right? Because relating two objects together, there's a couple of ways that it happens, and there's a couple of considerations. And in the advanced admin, you know, I think some of the things like each custom object can have up to 2 master detail relationships. And they say many lookup relationships. But I don't know if that's so it doesn't sound like there's a number anymore. I think that number used to be 40, but used to be doesn't matter. But that 2 master detail relationships on each custom object. And that's important to look at the custom object. Remember, you can't create a master detail field on a standard object, because that would make a standard object subordinate to whatever you say. And Salesforce isn't going to do that, right? Remember the whole standard mindset. I do know, and then we even teach this now in the, I want to say I taught it last month in the regular admin class about converting a relationship. So you can convert a lookup to master detail and a master detail to lookup. The consideration when you're converting a master detail to a lookup is that daggum roll-up summary field. If a roll-up summary field exists, you can't do it. You got to eliminate that field. It also, when you convert a master detail to it also changes the OWD. Remember when you add a master detail relationship, you're adding a subordinate object to a parent. You're looking up to a parent that's required to pick in every record. And the ownership, as well as the OWD settings, the ownership settings, are the child inherits all the settings for the parent. When you convert it, you have to make sure that having the OWD public read write is okay for your org, for your security. If you convert a lookup to a master detail, you have to make sure that all of the lookup fields have a value. So you have to filter for a blank value in all your records, because the lookup value in a master detail is required inherently, right? So you have to have it before you can convert it. A lookup relationship can't be changed to a master detail if the OWD of the child object access in the relationship is controlled by parent. So you basically have to set its, and that makes sense with the other, right? When converting a master detail to lookup, you have to set the OWD independently so that that child object can inherit. Salesforce doesn't do that for you. So if it's already controlled by parent, then you're kind of using one of the features of the master detail relationship. You have to take that away in order to convert it. That makes sense. And converting a lookup to master detail changes the OWD default to controlled by parent, and the sharing model is updated to public read write. And the sharing changes the OWD to controlled by parent, and the sharing model is updated to public read write. So I guess it's just those, you got to go check. I think the rule is whenever you convert, check the OWD. Like that's a simple way, that's a simple practical way to do it. That's a practical note for that. Now they do define self relationships when you create a relationship from an object to itself as a lookup relationship. And a record can't look up link to itself. And they gave this example about how it might be it indirectly, but just remember it can't look up to itself. But it can look up to another object, like the account object does that naturally, and they call that something else. Let's see, icons for related lists. The customer lists don't include an icon if they're based on a relationship with a custom object that doesn't have a custom tab. Okay, fine. Master details. To create multi-level master detail relationships, you need the customized app. When you define a master, this is, I saw the two, like you can create up to, I think it's up to 3 levels of master detail. So you can have 3 generations of dependencies on those subordinate records. I thought that was pretty cool, and problematic if you need more. You probably should just not use master detail if you need more than that. Let's see, by default, records can't be reparented in a master detail relationship. On custom objects to be reparented to different parents by selecting the allow reparenting option on the master detail. Okay. So that, I guess they're saying by default that is custom. If there's, I think the only custom is opportunity and contracts. The only standard master details that are hardwired. Cases and contacts are kind of loosely that, but they're not. Custom detail levels, standard objects can't be in an object can appear one time in multi-level master data relationship. So you have to keep your object straight in a multi-level. Multi-levels always cause problems. Some guy tried to recruit me in Amway today. I thought, thank you, but I've been in it 4 times in my life. I think I'm good. I'm not going to make it with that company. But he loved it. I don't know if multi-level, this is really getting deep in the weeds, right? But multi-level, I've never touched a multi-level master detail relationship. I can understand the concept, but I've never touched it. But they don't support division transfers, whatever that is. I guess that's in the territory management. You can't create a master detail relationship if the custom object already contains data. You can, however, create the relationship as a lookup, then convert it to master detail if the lookup field in all records contains data. That makes sense. That's saying, again, you're creating a field that requires something that you're now creating a situation where you don't have those requirements filled out. So you got to create the lookup first, add it all the records, and that follows back in your click path. Okay. Converting relationships from lookups to master detail or from master detail to lookup behaves the same as for 2 object master detail relationships. That is, the 2 linked objects in the detail, subdetail, or subdetail 2 relationship have the same conversion limits as the master detail relationship. I don't understand what conversion limits mean. Do y'all know what that means?
It's not clear to me.
It's not clear to me either. I think it's too, I personally think that's too deep down the rabbit hole. But if I take the test again and I fail and there was a question on conversion limits, I'll remember to kick myself in the butt for not searching that. But I'm not going to look at it now. Can roll up fields on detail records. However, it can't directly roll up fields on sub-detail records. Detail records have roll up summary field, allowing the master roll up in detail summary. Okay. You can use multi-level master detail relationships and custom reports. Custom junction objects can't have detail objects. That is, custom junction objects can't become the master object in a multi-level. Okay. So there must be an application for multi-level master detail. But I would imagine you know that going in early on in your architecture. This would not be something you would do on the fly. And this is like a great document for that. Deleting a detail, so I'm not going to worry about it. You can't delete a custom object if it's on the master side of a master detail relationship. If you delete a custom object that is on the detail side of master detail relationship, the relationship is converted to a lookup relationship. On the detail side, I guess that makes sense. You can't delete a custom object if it's on the master side. Well, that makes sense. I guess. I thought you could delete. I guess it's deleting the records, delete the child records, but you can't delete the object. Okay.
No, you have to delete the child objects first.
Sure. It's just like deleting the folders in a role hierarchy, right? The sub roles in a role hierarchy. You got to take the people out, and then you got to delete it while there's something in it. And so they're keeping you from deleting stuff. That makes sense. Blah blah.
And they'll tell you which ones, like where, who's.
Yeah, it'll tell you. Yeah, those are all screen prompts. Let's see. Yeah, that makes sense. So this is all about deleting. You can't, if you delete the master, it deletes the child. If you delete the child, it leaves it in the recycle bin. But if then you delete the master and try to restore the child, this is why I don't like deleting. It causes problems. Just don't do it. All right. See if anybody's, no. Let's see. A metadata deployment includes master detail relationships, deletes all detail records in the recycle bin in the following cases. Awesome. I don't think that really matters. I think as a best practice, get a better mouse, Dominic. I got to buy a better mouse. This is really tasky. As a best, don't exceed 10,000 child records for master detail relationship. I thought that was a good note when I looked at it. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense if you're doing roll-up summaries and, just if you're doing those calculations, having to calculate every time you save a child record, it has to basically recalculate all of the child records that have that value for a roll-up summary field. So if you get too many records, that'll just take a long time. A profile of permission set can have an entity such as an account with a master detail relationship. A broken permission dependency exists if the child entity has permissions that the parent should have. Salesforce updates the parent entity for a broken permission dependency on the first save action of the profile permission set. So if you so basically it's saying if the child has one of the modifier view all, it'll give it, the parent will have view all enabled. If it has view all or read, it'll enable that on the parent. All right. Then we come back to junction objects, which is a good thing, a many-to-many relationship. If both associated master records deleted, the junction object record is deleted permanently, can't be restored. Okay. Let's see, sharing access to a junction object is determined by user sharing access to both associated macro records and the sharing setting option on the relationship field. See custom object security. For example, the sharing setting on both parents is read-write, then the user must have read-write access to both parents in order to have read-write access to the junction object. Okay, so basically you have to manage your permissions when you have junction objects, that the profiles that have access to the junction object have the same level of access to the parents in that junction object, the two parents versus the child. Use what really writes on the master would have read access to the junction object. Okay, so I guess that's inherently applied to it. A user can't delete a parent record if there are more than 200 junction object records associated with it, and if the junction object has a roll-up summary field that rolls up to the other parent. To delete this object, manually delete junction object records till the count is fewer than 200. All right, so that's, I think 200 is the thing to key in on there. But woo! All right, the first master detail relationship you create on a junction object becomes the primary relationship. So when you can add two master detail fields, the first one you add is the primary, and the second one is the secondary, right? Primary and secondary. If you delete or you change the primary one to a lookup, or you delete it, then the second one becomes the primary. It just moves in place. And then if you add that first one back to master detail, let's say, it becomes a secondary. So it's always hold the plate. The first one is always the primary. The second one's always the secondary, and that's all you can have. And if you remove one, that's the first one, then the secondary becomes the primary. You never lose a primary. You always have a primary. That's really the thing. Look and feels the same. Record ownership in a junction object, records and the value of the owner from their associated primary master record. That's why you have to determine which one's primary, which one's secondary, I guess, so it can determine ownership. Then have visual owner. Division. If your organization uses divisions to segment data, the junction object records inherit their division from their associated primary master, again, the parent. Similar to record ownerships, only relevant if you later delete both master details. Second master detail becomes the secondary. If you delete the primary, roll-up summary fields that summarize data can be created on both master objects. Formula fields and validation rules on the junction object can reference fields on both. All right. You You define, I don't care about Apex. A junction object can't be on the master side of another master detail. Okay. You can't create a many-to-many relationship, many self-relationship. That is, two master detail relationships on the junction object can't have the same master. All right. Then there's the lookup, which is basically a simpler version of the master detail. And so if the lookup field is optional, you can specify one of the 3 behaviors to occur on the lookup if the lookup record is deleted. Clear the value, don't allow deletion, that's part of a lookup, and delete this record also. Available only if a custom object contains the lookup relationship, not if it's contained by a standard object. Okay. Deleting a record that has child record isn't allowed except when the child records are soft deleted. If all the child records of a parent record are soft deleted, then the parent record is deleted. Furthermore, any soft deleted children are then removed from the recycle bin and permanently deleted. Stop deleting. God. But that, delete this record also can result in a cascade delete, which means users can delete records when the target lookup record is deleted, even if they don't have access to the records. To prevent records from being accidentally deleted, cascade delete is disabled by default. Contact Salesforce to get a cascade delete enabled. Cascade delete and its related options aren't available for lookup relationships to business hours, network lead, price book, product or user, network lead, price book, or product or user objects. Well, that's all standard stuff. See if anything is else weird. In a chain of lookups, these behaviors work independently on each target field at each level. Wow. How do you think these will be like, this is getting really, what do you think about this information? You think it's practical? You think it's worth reading? You think it's just, I think you should just read it. What do you think? Like,
I mean, it is useful, especially when you are reading.
Makes me right. All right. So let's see if I can make sense of this. If a chain I don't care about the chain. I'm going to go to multi-level. I'm going to skip multi-level 2. I'm going to go to the next one. If the parent record in a lookup relationship is deleted, the field history tracking for the child record doesn't record the deletion. If a parent record in a lookup relationship is deleted, the field history tracking for the child record doesn't record the deletion. So
basically what this is saying is you're fucked if you delete the parent record.
Well, you're just saying you don't have a record of it being removed from that field if you're tracking field tracking on that lookup field.
The answer is don't delete parent records.
Don't delete anything. Why are you deleting history? It's historical records. This is why you don't.
History is bad.
History is good unless you're a political organization, then you can rewrite it. But if you're not a political, delete it.
It can get really messy. You can have a lot of antiquated fields that used to record maybe or it was ambitiously added and never used. So I
do not disagree, but that's what the ZZZ is for, right? You just put ZZZ on the field and you eat it. And then if you have to delete it because you somehow customizing and you need more fields for the object, okay. But man, if they're lookup fields, that's a problem, right? Lookup fields could cause.
There is a limit to the number of custom fields. I think you can only have up to 900.
There's a limit per object. Yeah, there's a limit. How many?
900 custom fields. I mean, you'll be surprised how many orgs get really close to that.
I know they do. It's ridiculous. But if that's what their business needs, all power to them. But 900, my hunch is they're not using all the fields they have. If they need 900 more.
I happen to know an org that has the limit, has reached the limit, and I am not going to name names.
It's for integrations because people have depending how they use Salesforce, right?
True.
Like if they have a lot of integration into Salesforce, it does tend to add a lot of custom fields that are managed.
Yeah, no, I get it. I agree. I don't, like I said, I don't disagree. I just don't know. All right. I get it. Let's see, you can't, if a parent record is deleted, the field history tracking for the child record doesn't record the deletion. Okay, great. I get it. You can't select indirect lookup fields in the parent field. That's just Prozac, by the way. Remembering that is just Prozac. If you're really tracking that level, you should already know you deleted the parent record, and that should be somewhere, I guess. Can't select indirect lookup fields for the parent. Oh, I need to make this bigger. You can't. Whoops. Oh, this is where Salesforce. Blah. Okay. Why did impact? Oh, come on now. What happened? Wow. Let's see how this looks. There's like a lot of words they put in this thing. Relationships on external objects. That's where we're at now. Relationships on external objects, lookup, external lookup, and indirect lookup relationships have some special behaviors and limitations. Lookup, external lookup, and indirect are available for external objects. No other relationship types are supported. Okay. Related list of child external objects can load slowly when users view the parent record detail pages. That makes sense. Relationships that involve external objects allow users to create child records from the record detail pages of parent records. However, the relationship field on each new child isn't automatically populated to identify the parent record. Okay. Do you work with external objects at all?
I don't think so.
No one uses this. It's like $3,000 a week or something to get this.
Is it really that much? Yeah, I think Salesforce charges that much because they just want you to add more storage inside Salesforce. They'd rather you just do that. My hunch.
I was watching something about, I think this will become relevant if you're considering relationship. I mean, it's relation, like deleting, there's accidental deletions. I was watching this presentation a couple of weeks ago about data loss, and it's sometimes integrations for bad code can trigger a data loss, and it will create, when you're restoring it, you have to consider the parent, the children, the grandchildren, and also all the records that might have been orphaned by that loss.
It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Yeah. Can't be created except can indirect lookup filters aren't available. It makes all that makes sense. Less functionality, more cost on external lookup. Let's see, impact of
relationships.
relationships.
Starting price is $4,000 a month.
Wow. Wow.
And they ask a lot of questions about it on the platform app builder quick test.
Do they?
At least they did when I took it last year.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's look at impact. I'm just gonna. I don't remember what I did yesterday, so I can't remember when I took the test. You're gonna have to go. The type of relationship you create affects which standard report types are available and how they're categorized. The report types determine which related objects can be included in a report. So lookup relationships allow data from the two related objects to be joined in one report. And it's a standard report type is a with join. So it's just it'll create, basically when you create a lookup relationship, it creates a report type that might be why, Patrick. I didn't have a scrape on my face, but I did have a sore jaw 2 days later. And I'm like, and it's still a little sore. So you can join in one report in a standard report type, but it's just going to be the parent that has children. So the supervising parent, right? Parental rights. The second one is going to have, you have to create a custom report type. I'm so glad this chat. Anyway, and all right. Master detail relationships allow data from 3 objects to be joined in one report: the master, the detail object, plus one other lookup object. If the detail object has multiple lookup relationships, a separate report type is available based on each lookup. So they're basically, Salesforce always creates, basically what they're saying is, if you have a master detail, you can have the object plus one other lookup object when you create a custom, I guess when you create a custom report type. If there's another one in there. But it makes sense. I mean, when you go to create custom report types, you get a sense of how it works. And when you look at all standard report types have, for the most part, I think I got this right, and is the object itself, all the records in each individual object, plus any parent object with child records. So to just show you the records of the children, you got to create a custom report type to have all of a parent in a lookup relationship or master detail, and all the parents, whether or not they have children. That's a with or without. It's called an outer join. But that's, hey, that if you're an advanced admin. All right. Okay. Many-to-many relationships provide 2 standard report types that join master objects and the junction object. There's the primary master with junction object and secondary master in the primary master object report category, and a secondary master and primary master in the secondary master. So you get one for each category if you add different report categories. The order of master objects in the report type is important. That might be worth noting. The order of the master objects in the report type is important. The master object listed first determines the scope of the records that can be displayed in a report in a standard report type. So what is it? What is the impact? This might be a good little slide. I might put this in as a note under what I think of all the things we saw, that might be like, why? I need a new mouse. When it says something's important, it usually is somewhere. Somebody will take that. A test writer will take that and say, oh, it's important in the help doc. I better write a test question around it. So that's just a test taken tip. We can just mark that on there. So it's a test taken tip because that makes total sense. So if the relationship's a lookup, object with first, object second, object with third, based on the object, master detail by itself, with the detail and first lookup, with the detail and second lookup. Okay, I see how they do it. Detail and third lookup. So they'll add up to 4 of those. And then this is all clever stuff that really, I think I like that people think about this stuff and it works. And now I know why it works. But practically speaking, I mean, does it if you know what you're reporting on, you could probably have to create a custom report type anyway. Anyway, so, all right. I think it matters probably more to know that it changes the report type based on the kinds of relationships you have versus knowing what all these are, so it always, because Salesforce always does this, right? If you've done reports enough, it's always got the object by itself and the object. I didn't realize it was first, second, and third lookups. That makes sense, right? So it does the same thing with master detail itself, then with the detail, and the first and second and third lookup, and then primary by itself, secondary right by itself. It's a many to many, so it's going to have primary by itself, secondary by itself, primary with the junction object and secondary master object with the junction object, primary master object. So it goes both ways. That makes sense. And then you're going to create custom report types anyway. That's really the lesson here, is when you start creating lookups between objects, you're going to want to probably use good reporting is going to probably determine custom report types, because if you're creating child records, then you've got to be able to find the parents without children. And so what do they call them? You used to call them dinks in the 80s and 90s, double income, no kids, right? Or however you're a dink. It's the same thing, right? If you have dinks, you want to know who they are so you can go give them children if they need it. If it's part of your business process to collect that child data, you have to create a custom report type in order to find all the records without children. So you have to do it. And this isn't, because this is important. I think this is probably going to be on the test, right? Converting a relationship causes problems. Well, we all know that from living life more than 10 years. And it would mess up your report types, standard report types. And then go test your custom report types after converting a relationship. There you go. That's a lot with relationships. Any questions about that? Did we capture any notes on that? I think there's some good stuff in there. The things that were important are probably the most, and I think it's going to come down to really understanding that custom report types give you the most control over the data you're reporting on. But if you don't know that, the day you get terminated because you created a report with a standard report type and you left out records because you didn't know the difference, you didn't really know your data, good for you. Get another job, make room for somebody who knows what they're doing where you were, and go learn to fix what you did. Is that not compassionate or enough? All right. So let's see what's next. So custom objects. Did I miss that one in the notes? Custom objects, quick look. No, I got it. Where's my cut? There it is. Oh, it just puts it in a different spot. So this is one I haven't completed yet. So let's complete it. Have y'all completed this one? This is a sword jaws and tolerance. It's funny. Explain how to optimize your org with standard and custom objects. Create a custom object. Okay. So really the rule is, I'm going to tell you the learning it does right now. You optimize your org by getting as many custom fields into standard objects as possible, because they represent standard business data. That means in your business, right? Then if you start creating custom objects, a lot of them, maybe Salesforce has a cloud for that. Like maybe Salesforce has, experience cloud is not a good example. Manufacturing cloud or financial cloud, or what are some other clouds that specify field service, Salesforce field service? What are some other, I don't know all the different clouds they sell, but all the different clouds they sell are specifically designed to create custom objects from the lessons Salesforce has learned over 23 years of people customizing it for their business, that the standard objects that already came, and Salesforce found that there's a market enough for it to make enough money to just build it out for you, so that you don't have to build it out, all that standard kind of data that's relevant to your industry or your particular, the way you're using it, like Marketing Cloud and those things. Anything you can't use, you can't milk the standard with custom fields, and you got to collect special data, then you create a custom object. So creating data is, I think when, Chen, you were talking earlier about orgs with 900 fields and hitting their limit or getting close to it. A lot of times that's technical debt, changes in leadership, changes in processes, changes in, their business, and having to just add more data to reflect the things they want. Sometimes it's people not understanding their data at all, and they're trying to squeeze the wrong data into standard objects instead of just creating custom objects. So knowing how to categorize the different objects in reality is going to lead to a cleaner set of objects in your org that represent that reality. And I think that's important, right? But it's going to be based on your business, your rules. And my hunch, Patrick, that you've seen, and Chen, you've seen these companies with tons and tons. Have you found that those companies don't really understand, like they may not even really understand their business? Like if you really talk to people, there's probably not an agreement on what things mean in Salesforce if they have that many custom fields.
I think that it comes from two different directions. You have teams which are entirely technical and don't necessarily have a business understanding, and then you have
they're doing what they're told, not what they understand.
Well, and they may be very good at it. They may understand very technical things, but it's not always a technical solution. And you have the flip side of that, people who don't understand the technical side at all.
Yeah.
And may or may not also not understand business processes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big disconnect, right? I see people hire, when they're hiring for a Salesforce person, they're looking for IT experience, or they turn over Salesforce to an IT person who doesn't understand the business really. Yeah, they know how to hook up a router. They know what technical terms are. They know what the MAC address is, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't understand how the business uses that data to represent things that happen in reality, to tell a story, so it communicates and you can make better decisions from it, yeah, you're going to get that disconnect. And if the business doesn't understand that data is different, like a lead is a lead and not something else, and you don't need to recreate the lead, then that'll cause problems, because they'll tell people to do stuff and then people will not push back the doing when they should.
Well, that's why you need the competent BA who understands both and can write a proper user story, and also has the guts to say no when they need to.
I'm going to write that down and say it. I'm going to call it the competent consultant. Right? I got a friend of mine. I watch his stuff on YouTube. He's called the coveted consultant. But I'd much rather have a competent consultant who then I can.
You need to ask the right questions to get to the root of what you're actually trying to solve. I mean, I've lost track of the number of times where somebody asked me for a custom field for something, and you do a little digging and you find out, well, actually, you can just do it this way.
Or that the field already existed, they just didn't understand it. They didn't understand that the field, or some field representing that thing, already exists. I see that happen more often than I'm comfortable. I had a company where this couple who did most of the sales for years in Salesforce, and the owner of the company never even logged into Salesforce. So I logged in and looked, and they renamed opportunities to bids, and they added 7 date fields on the opportunity record, and they never used the close date at all. and they didn't understand how opportunities worked. I mean, God bless them, they did the best they could with what they knew, but the only problem they had was when I told them how it's supposed to work, they were like, man, we think you're trying to hurt our feelings. We don't want to hear this. I'm like, no, I'm trying to teach you. And they didn't want to learn. So I converted it anyway, because that's what the guy paid me to do, put it back to standard. So I did. Anyway, but yeah, they just don't understand what things are used for. Like, and that happens a lot in Salesforce. That's why at Super User Academy, we want to elevate your users to understand both the business and the data and how it's stored in Salesforce. If the more they understand Salesforce, the better you can have your business represented within your org. You guys are competent in that already. I know both of you are competent in that already. So anyways, that's, I don't need to, when you store the data in Salesforce, so there are different types of data that comes standard in Salesforce, and, you know, learn what they are so you don't use them for what they're not. I had a customer of mine that actually, they hired somebody new, and he kept asking her for stuff. And then a year later, after I set him up on Essentials, a little Essentials account, she says, hey, I need to do this. I need to integrate this with that. So sure, I'll take a look. And, you know, I took a look, and on the account object, they created fields that represented things from the opportunity and the contact and activities. I'm like, why are you putting all that stuff on the account? Because people go back to a spreadsheet mentality because they don't understand accounts about company stuff, contacts about the person that works at the account, opportunities about the sales conversation we're having that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it can have more than one. And it could go one, it could be one conversation about this thing, but another conversation about that thing, blah, blah. And a lead is just a damn business card. So in a lead, it categorizes your data. And yeah, I got a friend that teaches productivity. He talks about categorizing things all the time. And David Allen is big on categorizing behavior and data and activities. If you can categorize those three things, you can become more productive. So let's see. Yeah, it's you collect the kind of data you need on a lead that determines whether they're worth pursuing to do business with. Once you've collected that amount of data, that's all you need to collect on a lead before you convert it into records you can then do business with. So you have your qualification for business, and then you convert to collect more detailed information about that business that you're going to do with them. And you know, everybody's a little different, but I got one client that, I say they're a client, they don't use me much because I yell at them a lot. They don't even use opportunities. They sell, they're dinosaurs. They sell pianos, and he doesn't care. A lead's a lead, and everybody gets the same email every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, he sends out an email. He's having a sale. He's got a truckload. He's got a rain damage in Florida, and everybody that's bought a piano or not gets an email. He doesn't care, but he sells, you know, $500,000 in pianos every year, or $1 million in pianos. No, he sells like 200 grand a month. He does $2-3 million a year in business. That's what it is. Custom objects can be anything. You define the object and you define the type of info it contains. Just make sure it's homogeneous. That's what the whole point of it is. You know, and so don't mix the streams. Just create another custom object. If you have an org that can create custom objects, do it. Create as many as you need. I don't know if I'm sure there's some kind of limit. I'm not sure. But collect the kind of data that you need. So I think we're going to have to create one. And in the challenge, if you haven't done it already, but in the org, why is my mouse moving so slow? Let me close some stuff down. Wow, I'm having super lag. Might be this, might be that. I don't know what. Leave it there. I stored in a horrible place. Let's see what else is running. Oh, I know it's running. Stupid OneDrive. Quit OneDrive. Wait. See, this pause my sync. There we go. So you create the custom object. Every custom object, I'm going to talk about it for a second. Every custom object has standard fields. And those standard fields are, let's see if that'll help speed things up. See what else is going weird. I'm going to quit Descript. I'm going to quit Slack. I got a camera hub, but I don't know if I'm using it right. Helping? Is it helping? Is it helping? Am I doing more than one Zoom? What do I got? Nope. Good. So you go to your object
Speaking of
manager.
Standard fields. I like when I get requests to change the created by or last modified by field.
Right?
The created by field should be this person, like, but they didn't create it.
Yeah, but I want to change it to that. Yeah, because they don't. That's the basic fundamental not understanding what, right? What's on the screen in front of them. Let's see. What do you want? So let's see. Oh, that was just a quiz. So yeah, you keep
That person is the owner of the account. Yeah, but they should be the created by.
No, created by. So you look at that person, you go, you don't understand history, do you? Like, you don't understand what history means. Like, recording the truth is what we're trying to do, right? Whatever user did it is what we want to keep a record of. Whatever, that may or may not be the same person who owns it, but who did it. It's like when you take a DNA test and find out that your dad's 100% Irish and you don't have any Irish in you.
Well, that was only one premonition of the flames that project was going to end up in.
Right, exactly. But that those are good indicators of client viability. Like, oh, I know what I need to do. Yeah, I need to get out of this project fast. So you create a custom object, and then I can't take the quiz, but I can look at the quiz in an incognito window. I can't take it again, but I can look at it again. And let's go to the challenge. True or false, you can use a custom object to change the name of a standard Salesforce object. That is absolutely false. I'm not even going to entertain the thought that you could change anything standard. Which of the following is true about setting up your Salesforce org? A, you probably shouldn't do it unless you've taken these classes. You have to choose between standard custom objects. No. You're limited to 3 custom objects. No, that would make Salesforce weak and ineffective. You can begin using standard objects and add custom objects depending on your business unique needs. You must schedule an energy audit. If you pick D, here's what you ought to know. You have zero command of the language in which you're reading the trailhead in. I'm not going to say English language because whatever your language is, or you have no concept of the words you're reading and why. So yes, you begin using standard and then you add custom objects as much as you need. So there. That's a good question.
Unless you are on a force.com platform.
Well, now force.com is different, right? You're creating everything custom except, the objects that are included standard on the force.com only license. Do you know the 4 objects that are standard, called universal objects in some circles?
User?
Okay, 5. User, yes, for sure. Yes. That's not what I'm talking about because everyone's got users. What else?
Reports?
Nope.
It's not an object.
Not an object. A cat.
Account?
It's accounts, contacts, tasks, and events.
It didn't come with any.
It comes with those 4. The account contact is a universal object. and tasks and events. So accounts, contacts, and activities.
Do they still sell Force.com?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people use it. Stony Point. I mean, you could rebuild. Listen, you could buy the Force.com license, pay $50 a month per user, and get everything you get in enterprise. You just got to rebuild it. You got to build your own workflow rules that you use, that you call assignment rules. Yeah, you don't get leads. You got to create leads. You got to create opportunities. You got to create everything, and you lose all the standard functionality. You're doing it only because you want the core functionality of Salesforce for some reason, and you build something on top of it. But a lot of companies built themselves on top of the Force.com platform early on, and they just kept developing it, and Salesforce kept developing, and they just kept running neck and neck. I don't know why, because people are just that way. Anyway.
We booked a hotel in Japan once, and at the time I didn't realize it or recognize it, but not too long ago I found an email from them, and the booking site, like the registration site or whatever they had, was a Force.com domain.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, so the Lightning Experience rollout. This is good kind of overview information. I'm going to go through this pretty fast because you can read this stuff. I don't think there's anything super, like this is basic. So this is for people who are on Classic going to Lightning, transition to Lightning Experience. And if you're going to do that, if you happen to be watching, or if I make this clip its own little clip, if you're going to transition from Classic to Lightning, you have an opportunity to lift and shift the way your users have adopted to Salesforce, and you should invest in automation and the Lightning features that are going to make people's lives easier. Don't just roll it out and then improve it. Roll it out with some of the improvements built in, so that people get wins immediately, and they'll associate it to Lightning, not, you just did some customization of Lightning. If you just convert from Classic to Lightning without any benefits that you've created, then people are going to say same old. This can say same old Salesforce, different interface, just looks different. They're not going to embrace the benefits that you could actually give them and have them use it more. There's features that are available only in the new interface, like tasks, a task list that's easier to work with, a calendar that's easier to work with. At this point in time, 6-7 years later, if you're not ready for Lightning, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't understand. Like, I can't imagine. Everything's converted. You don't have to evaluate anymore. What you need to plan is what you're going to build to make somebody's life easier in Lightning. Somebody in every part of your business. So yes, you should do Lightning now. You have much more control. You have much more feature availability. And if you're an admin, if you're an advanced admin, you ought to be able to have the kinds of conversations with people in your organization at the leadership level that actually have them want to, you have to enroll champions and build out your own little group of champions. If you're not doing that, then, you shouldn't be you're not an advanced admin. Go back and get some other classes and learn some other skills to get what you need to lead the kinds of things you need to lead your business by knowing how Salesforce works, so you can get the flow of your business working anyway. And that's, it does start with you. And if you, don't have a change management plan in place, some type of communication, some type of enrollment, some type of presentation, and that you're gonna miss. It's going to be a miss. You might as well not even try it. Just leave things where they are and get somebody to help you present over a course of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It doesn't matter. But create a story, and it's a part of a change management plan, to create a story about why you're doing it, the benefits, solicit benefits from people, find out what their pains and frustrations are, and then get a team of people who can own pieces and parts of it so they feel like they're involved. If you do it and dump it on them, you're going to get the same reaction that most people get when they add new technology. And it's usually one finger about the middle one with all the rest put down, and they're gonna resist because that's a natural human reaction. Natural. So you do need a transition team, right? You need people that give a shit, that are in a position of authority as well as a position of influence. So even though Jane, the secretary's, doesn't have the authority, if she runs the water cooler, you better get them on board, because if you're not giving them what they want, somehow finding out what their pains are, it's screwed. I'm going to say it that way. You're screwed from the beginning. So you need a sponsor who's going to foot the bill. If you're doing sales, you need people in leadership and operations. You, the admin, you also need somebody who's that undesignated leader, right? That influencer inside your org. You got to do it. So there's the framework. So this is probably what you need to know, right? So it's the same thing you do if you were setting up as a consultant. You got to discover what the current situation is. So learn what people are doing now, what they could be doing, how they're doing it, what they're doing now, and what the gap in results is that you want them to be able to do in the future, right? So you got to create a picture of the weight. I call it situation overview solution. So you get a picture of the situation, or the outcomes required in order to get to this vision. You do the situation, and then the outcome, or the solution, right? The ideal solution. And then you start building in the requirements that you need to learn about what people complain about. Just ask them what they hate about Salesforce and what they love about their job and what they wish Salesforce would do, what they wish the technology would do for them. Because people won't tell you the truth. You also have to watch them. What do I mean by that? Sometimes people go through a process and they just learn the process, and that's it. They're done learning. They're not trying anything new. They're not considering that they could be shorter, faster, better. They're not considering that. They're just doing what they need to do to get shit done. I am not one of those people. I always look at whatever I got to do to get done. I go, is there a better way to do it? Even before I do it the first time. That's a barrier to my getting shit done. But a lot of people just do it and they don't even think about how it's done. So you got to look, you got to discover that, right? You got to be able to find out. And they're talking about their transition assistant, which is great because it looks if you have anything weird in there. But don't worry. It does have to be an effort, because if you engage your users, it's an opportunity to find out why they don't log into Salesforce, why they don't use it, what if it did, and how they're getting their job done outside of Salesforce. And oh, by the way, why are you letting them get their job done outside of Salesforce? We got to talk to the leaders. Like, why do you approve opportunities that don't have a contact role on it? Why do you pay a commission on an opportunity without the contacts involved in the conversation? Why do you do that? You're incentivizing bad behavior. You can enforce this stuff. It's called Salesforce, not Sales Ask. So there's an enablement pack. And that's like templates and PowerPoints and other things that if you follow that, I don't know if anybody follows it exactly, but Salesforce does when they do rollouts and stuff. It's always good, right? So you start with a discovery. Everything starts with discovery. You learn about the Lightning experience. You learn about the features. We're going to do the next one, features, in the next lesson. What's this list do? I'm going to see. I don't know what that list is. I'm going to put these down as a resource in case you haven't completed them in your journey. And I'm going to put it up above. Well, let's see. And that other one, that whatever that one is. Oh, everything moves so slow. And I'm impatient. Taking that out. Moving that there. Whoops. So, you know, calculate the ROI. It's going to be better. Let's see. I'm not going to copy those. So this is also a good time to review your current processes. Just watch how people do things. Watch them. Don't ask them. Watch them. Have them show you how to do it. Do it on a Zoom meeting so you get a recording and then you can follow the click path. And then you as an admin, you got to figure out a better click path. Every time you can figure out something better. You give people a shortcut, they'll be happy. Don't teach them shortcuts. Just teach them to get stuff done. When they figure out how to do it and you figure out a better way, then show them. Then they'll appreciate you. If you teach them the shortcut first, they think that's the way, and then you got nothing to get appreciated for. I know, because I'm driven by appreciation. All right. Which workflows and processes are critical for operations? And are they tracking them in Salesforce at all? There's critical business decisions people make. And, you know, some people don't realize they can track all that in Salesforce, and they're tracking shit that isn't. Are there complicated, or there are multiple ways to accomplish the same outcome? Can you control that? If there's three ways to do something and one of them's way better than the other two, can you eliminate those other two from even happening? You know, like validation rules and hidden fields and read-only fields, and say, well, I want to do it that way. Well, don't do it that way. Do it this way. It's faster and better. Check your org's readiness. At this point, I'm sure it's ready. If it's not ready, you got problems, I would think. Like, it's been 7 years. I mean, we're ready for Lightning 2.0 is what we're ready for, which is what we have a lot of times. So check the readiness. These are things that you ought to be afraid. Assess the impact of feature gaps. So one thing that Salesforce does do is it has put out the whole roadmap converting Classic to Lightning, and you can see what's still left to be done if there's any feature gaps. I don't think there's actually any feature gap for the end user side where Classic does something that Lightning no longer does. Like things like the recycle bin, sharing records, all of those buttons are now there. There may be a few, but hey, but you can go to the roadmap and find out. And this, you can look at the gaps. I don't think there's any, I don't want to load it up because it's taking too long. Practice in a sandbox. Right? Practice. Get people to give you feedback. Plan your rollout. That is, involve other people over time. Find a way to just create a cadence of interaction with people over time. You're going to find that that's pre-training people to use the new system in a conversation about business to data. And that's never going to hurt you. If you're not doing that on a regular basis anyway, internal business process reviews, like performance reviews, should happen more than once a year. See, Patrick, you could do that at your job and everybody would know you're working. And then you got to have a strategy, right? When you talk about moving users gradually in groups, the first group is all of your stakeholders that are in it with you, that are the steering committee, and you got to get those people actually clicking. I've seen more steering committee members and stakeholders not log in, and it diminishes their power and ability to leverage their role in the organization and the influence they have on the rollout. So don't leave those jokers out. Yeah, you can move. I would say moving users in groups or going all in and moving everyone at the same time really depends on the size, scale, and how the change is going in your change management plan. What's the feedback like? Do you have a lot of types of, you have different types of users, people that like change, people that don't like change. There's certain kinds of people that it's better to change one little thing at a time. And I would put those kind of people in early the people that resist change the most, you'll discover if you add them early and as changes come out sprint by sprint every 2 weeks, if you're doing it that way in a agile method, you're going to find that those people who are resistant to big changes actually change better when you involve them in the process, because those are people that are relationship oriented. They're going to make sure that things work for all the other people, and you're showing them one change at a time as it's part of the development process. And your wild people like me are like, get it to me now when it's ready. Don't show me a little bit, show me everything at once. I'm going to figure it out. Like, people want it all at once, people want a little at a time. Figure out how those two people are, and you'll have a much better rollout strategy all the way. Starting over with a new org could be I don't recommend that one, because you lose all kind of historical data that you're not going to get. You're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. And I wouldn't do it. It would be, in most cases, a bad idea. Now, there's exceptions to that. It's not a rule. It's just a recommendation. You can obviously do what you want. Let's see. Gradual rollout to groups, run a pilot, refine your implementation, get feedback, break up the work, avoid technical debt. All those, these are all good things that are not going to be on the test as far as I could tell. But it should be planned out in some type of cadence and order. And it's not going to go, things aren't going to get produced at the timeline. So you want to create it with a timeline, but be willing to move the timetables. Just move your Gantt chart along. Don't worry if something takes 4 weeks that you expect to take 2, because you don't know when you're in it, right? You're building out new stuff. If everything goes as planned, you didn't change anything. You just went through the motions, right? If you're really changing things, then nothing goes as planned, because you're going to discover new things in the change. You're going to discover new things in the transformation that you can't account for, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So keep that in mind, and train along the way as part of your change management process. Train internal people as super users. I always recommend starting a super user academy. And one day we'll have a super user academy package that you could just roll out for your org. You can do the big bang rollout. You work it, you basically do it, and everybody's going to change at once, but you still have a group that's in the background in the development process before you lay it out on all your users. And you don't get a lot of feedback from all your users. You just get it from your dedicated users. And that, by the way, is not the same feedback you're going to get from everybody. So if you are going to do a rollout all at once, make sure that your training plan leaves room for adjustments and changes to your development, because that's when you're going to get all the feedback. So I always recommend a train the trainer model. Get your trainers and stakeholders involved early in the process, and then pilot out groups, even for training, even before you start the full-on training. Like, there's no such thing as doing it all at once. You're crazy if you do. I've seen it happen, but you're just insane. And I'm a person who doesn't like to deal with projects and processes. So sign up on decide the users and scope of work for each group when you roll out. Okay, that makes sense. Develop a change management plan. Boy, that's easier said than done. Hire a professional if you need it. That's what we do at Sales and Technology Consultants. But I do want to put this in there, because this is just good. Good change management makes all the difference, and it's really just managing people's expectations. Whoops. Throughout the process. All right, I'm going to get through this and be done with this very quickly. I'm done talking about it. So create a plan, define what success means before you get started, and then keep an eye on that ball throughout the process. And then don't worry about, make sure you get to that, what you need, and keep working that. And then you can find out whatever happened late. Do pick a launch date though, because nothing works better than a deadline. Create a project schedule, include training, stakeholder engagement, all those things. Do a demo lightning. So demo the bennies. Remind people over and over. Practice makes permanent, by the way, doesn't make perfect. And I think there's actually some trails on how to do a demo. I think there actually is some work out there you can. And these things. So what's the challenge? It's a 100-point challenge. Why is it? Whoops. Why is the challenge not there? See what that is, and then we'll bust out of here. Am I incognito already? This mouse is driving me crazy. So let's get an idea what the questions might be based on the questions in here. Yep. Salesforce loves long pages and scroll bars. Okay, so let's look at what's important. The Lightning Transition Assistant in Setup provides transition recommendations, step-by-step guidance, the lyrics to Experience Rollout, the musical. I think B is the answer, because C is not, so it can't be all the above. And I don't know who Bolte is. I don't think that's right. So it's there are no lyrics. So it's step-by-step guidance on the phases and stages. When you evaluate your org for Lightning experience, start by running the readiness check. Don't worry about A is stupid, B would be ridiculous, and D would be a heartache for everybody. When planning your Lightning experience transition, define, it makes sense to start with a new, no, it doesn't, D is wrong. Spend a lot of time up front to identify all your priorities before rolling out to your first group of users. Yep, that's good. Let's see, define strategies on how you'll roll out to users and how you prepare users for the interface. I think that's going to be the answer. That's really it. B is the answer. Hold a lottery to decide when users move. No. The best time to involve executive sponsors, stakeholders is before you start the project. I know it says after the start of the project, at the start of the project, but it's really before you start the project. Get them to kick off the project. There you go. So let's go to the next one. Roll out to your users. And so roll out. So really you have to know, discover, roll out, optimize. That's really everything, right? So when you're planning, executing, and review, part of operating is, your discovery is your planning phase, your execution phase is the rollout, and then you're reviewing constantly and learning from it. I think all this is a repeat of everything we've kind of said earlier, but maybe there's something. Yep, you got to get your users on, give them exercises and then check their work. So in your org, download the Trail Guide or Trailblazer. There's an app that links your users to their Trailhead accounts to see if they set up a Trailhead account. They don't have a Trailhead account, they ain't learning nothing. And the troops do with the checker checks. Create a chatter group for the rollout team, create a chatter group for everybody. Although chatter groups kind of suck. If you have Slack or something, I mean, they suck in Classic, but it's fine. Use your champions. If you don't have people that care, it's not going to work anyway, so don't bother. Keep communicating. Don't just send an email. Send an email all the time. Little messages over time, building on a story is better than one big long message. And the goal of all email marketing is to have one action occur for each. There's one goal for each email. Don't have more than one goal in each email. I know, because I do that and it's bad. Train your users to work in the Lightning experience. And that's what we're going to do in the next trail, part of the enablement pack. Implement the features. So the activity timeline's a cool feature. You can show people that how it frames that. Enhance notes. I would not do that. I hate notes. Notes are stupid. Notes are not data. Notes are only good if you're going to go back to your note and take what you took in notes and put it into data and then delete the note. You don't need the note anymore. If Salesforce files is a lot easier way, chatter groups, the news, chatter is much better. Maybe duplicates is a problem. I don't know why lead conversion would be one. Lightning apps, Lightning console apps, my domain. What do they say about Lightning apps? I don't know. All right, so yeah, putting your logo on it and all that's cute, but console, the Lightning console is fantastic if you have users that use it. The my domain, maybe it makes it easier for them to log in because you got my domain and you have other features that they can use because of that. Yeah, adjust your existing features and customizations, make them better. Hoy, give them some wins and then launch it. Everybody's going to use it. What happens when users get access to Lightning? You want to give them the ability to flip back and forth for a little while, but then turn that off. Remember, it's called Salesforce, not Sales Ask. So they could switch. They could switch back and forth. Yeah, all good stuff. I don't think you need to remember a bunch of it. Effective way to prepare use Lightning is run a weekly email drip campaign. Yeah. Hold a launch party and a raffle prize with branded swag. Yep. Start a chat. All the above. Do all that. Automate and speed up necessary adjustments to your existing customization of these tools. Lightning Experience Readiness Check and Salesforce Optimizer, Magic Mover, Salesforce Lightning Optimizer, and Lightning Knowledge Migrate. You can't migrate knowledge from Classic because it doesn't exist in Classic. So C is out. And there's no experience configuration converter. So it's A. It's the readiness check. Just in case there's something stupid in your Classic org. To roll out Lightning to a subset who are assigned to the inside sales custom profile and set Lightning as a default interface, you should. So D has a typographical, so D is not an answer, but it does say about adding a permission to the profile, which you need to do, right? So A says A and D, because they already have a custom profile. You don't need to create a permission set if they already have a custom profile. You just add the permission to it. So B and C are out. And enable the Lightning Experience user permission for that profile, then ask users to click the switcher link inside Salesforce Classic header to switch themselves to Lightning. That gives them control to do it. That's a great way to, A is a great way to do it. If you force it on them, if they automatically go to Lightning, they're going to be confused and shocked. But if they make the choice, it's better. So don't be a knucklehead. And then
I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree with you on this one.
For a while.
Drop a link to that module, and I will test and find out what the answer is.
You just got to navigate back to it yourself.
So I think you're overlooking a very important word in the question, which, because I had such a great teacher for taking Salesforce tests,
let's go back and look. I'm open to feedback. I'm always looking. So what do you say? You think so let's look at B. Move the desired users to a standard profile so they can automatically get Lightning Experience. Can't do that.
That's obviously wrong.
Right.
But
and all right, and D is obviously wrong because then assign.
You said, didn't you say D?
No, D is wrong.
What did you say?
I said A is right.
I think it's C.
Maybe we'll go test it. You want to test it? I don't know is there a Lightning Experience Transition Assistant? I think there is. I'm gonna have to quit because something's still.
I also already completed this module, but maybe I'll do it in another profile.
Let's just look in the org. I just look in the org. I mean, maybe in the org, let's just see if there is a lightning transition assistant. All right, there is. So that's good. That's getting there. Let's see what it do.
Is there a remain in Salesforce Classic permission set?
I don't know. I think it's stupid. So this transition experience is for the admin, not for, right? The 3 phases, the discover, rollout, and optimize. So I don't think that's the right answer, because that's then use the switch users tool. All right, all right, use the switch users tool. Let's just see. So rollout, the rollout phase, let's just go to the steps and see what that looks like. Launch lightning experience. All right, you know what? I think you might be right, because there it is. Make the lightning experience the default interface. So let's see what that tell me more is all about. Yeah. I think that's a good point that you picked up, because Salesforce spent a lot of time and money on this tool, the Lightning Experience Transition Assistant.
It's C.
C is correct.
Yes, the correct answer is C.
How did you figure that out? You had to create a whole new Trailblazer.me profile? Take it again.
I have another profile.
Tricky. So C is it. Good. That's good to know. So again, it makes sense.
You
right?
didn't follow your own advice. It's Salesforce, not Sales Ask. So why would you ask your other users to remain in Salesforce Classic?
That is very true. That is very true. Well, hey, it's at a pilot group, so I'm giving them a little bit of a break in that regard. All right. So let's see. Good, Patrick. Patrick has my gene that we share in common called work to be right, so you can prove someone else that you're right. I will work my ass off to make sure that I'm right. If I think I could be right, but I'm not fighting for being right when I'm open to it.
Well,
but I
when
will
we
fight to
last
figure it out.
met, I was but the student.
What's that?
When we last met, I was but the student.
Right. Making lightning. Yeah, so I'm going to put that article in the notes, because that's a good article. Make them do it. It's good, a good little article right there. Drive it. So drive it, measure your adoption rates. Yeah, what gets measured can be managed. But also remember, that's in the optimize phase. And make it better and get feedback. Just sometimes asking people for feedback makes them feel like they're getting, their opinion counts, and they feel better about it. Turn on Lightning Experience, get feedback in the app. Turn on the Lightning Experience user feedback form to get input from users when they switch back to Salesforce Classic. Okay, that is a, I haven't used that before.
Well, they can't switch back to Classic when you remove their option to do so.
Well, I know that, but they're saying if you do give them the option to flip back, but you
Just
make
don't.
Lightning the default. Well,
Don't give them the option.
sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on if you're in Philadelphia or not. Let's see. I like this little hub. I want to put this change management hub in. Do I have that in there now? I think I do.
They want to use Classic. They can go work at AOL.
Use a survey app, do a focus group, just ask them, send them a question, collect and evaluate feedback, get your champions to do it, engage with your champions. Yeah, track adoption rates. So there's some in there, there's some switches to Classic. I think it's good to let them switch back and forth. It gives, for a while, it helps people make the transition, but then you can you say that's going away, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, I want to make sure what happened here. Lightning experience, home. I want to make sure that, anyway. Monitor your success metrics. Use reporting. So report on historical data with snapshots. That's a great use case for snapshots to see how people are progressing on records by how, like the evolution of a record and how long it takes them to, how many times they update a record, those kind of things you can do, see how well they're getting it, if you will. Keep the executives up to date. They just need summaries. I got to tell you, the best incentive I ever saw was at a radio station. The general manager of the radio station put out a chat post on the first day. He said, anybody comes to my office and says blankety blank, the competition gets a $20 bill. It took like 4.5 hours for somebody to see that post and get to his office. Tuesday morning, when we did training and told people about it, he did the post again, and it took only 20 minutes for somebody to get in his office and get the $20. And then they didn't, because he's a radio station, he knows how to do this. Then Wednesday, he didn't post at all, but people were looking all day long. And then Thursday morning, they came back to training, said, hey, we didn't see it, and we didn't do it. We're going to do it today, though. And they finally did it on Thursday before everybody left. Yeah. Iterate. So get people used to updates. The Salesforce optimizer, I don't use it much. I don't find I don't know. I'm not doing transitions a lot, but they really want you to know about their Lightning transition assistant. That's a good thing to know. And in my Quizidom, see what that is. I'm not sure if this is the last, it's almost the last thing we got. Whoops. Come on. I'm always the student, Patrick. The circle is always complete. Be the student. So let's see what the questions are. After rolling out Lightning, we recommend the next step is take a long vacation. You deserve it. Yeah, I definitely think that's good. I don't think it's the answer, but it's good. Collect feedback and look for ways to optimize. That's the answer. Turn off Classic immediately so you don't have to support two interfaces. That might be a little abrupt for some, but depends on your users. Move on to the next big project. No, always collect feedback. That's what Optimize is all about. Collect feedback from users by conducting a focus group, doing a survey, and turning on the Lightning Experience user feedback form. Yep, we said that, all those things. B, that's a form of feedback, but not direct from the end user. They're going to interpret it. Read their thoughts. You don't need feedback from users. Yep, you get those are wrong answers. Your Salesforce champions can drive the adoption by working in the Lightning Experience setting example others. That's good. Providing feedback, training users, and testing new features before they go live. Yeah, that's good. Creating your Lightning Experience roadmap for you. No, the champions won't do that. Showing users how to switch back to Classic. No, that's not a champion. I think B is probably the right answer. I think that's the right answer. Patrick will tell us. I definitely think A is part of the right answer too, but I think the best answer is B. Because if you put out a crappy feature, people aren't going to like it. But Patrick will tell me if I'm wrong. An effective way to motivate your users to work in Lightning instead of Classic is develop a dashboard of chronic switchers that you share with managers. Turn off the it's better in Lightning prompts because they're a distraction and people ignore them. Don't worry about it because it's not a problem supporting two interfaces. Automatically switch users out of Classic on a daily or weekly basis. So what did they say in the motivate section?
It's going to be D.
I think you're right.
Scheduled switcher, it was like the second to last row on that table.
Yeah. Schedule when they switch. Yeah. You know, I might actually do like I could think of a scenario where, depending on how they're doing it, I would say, okay, in 2 weeks, we're going to Lightning, or 4 weeks, Lightning's mandatory. And then plan on that 4 weeks, or let's say you just say, oh yeah, after a week, you make it mandatory. Instead, like you say, look, in a week, we're going mandatory on this. And if people don't do it, they don't check it out, then switch them. And when they complain, like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, then they give them another week or just leave. I don't know. Just pick a date and let them work toward it. Not like a deadline.
Yeah, it's D.
It's D, right? And what about 3? I think 3 was
3 is B, as in boy.
and then yeah, oh, that's good. All right. Killaroni. Come on, incognito. Let's see what's next. Because that's that Lightning experience. And then the last is Lightning experience features. I think that's the same thing. What makes it special? It's better. It looks better. So let's say a couple things. I think that make it special is the path. The path is great. The home tab is very customizable. A group record view. What's a grouped, when they say grouped record view?
I don't know what that means.
With grouped view, sales process state, I think a group view for record page. I don't really know what that is. So I don't understand what that is. I don't understand the terminology. I've never used the terminology before. The path is great. The activity timeline is great. The Kanban is great. Kanban, however you want to say it. Enhanced notes is dumb because notes are dumb. But yes, enhanced notes are better and you can relate them to objects, but you can't search them and you can't really use them. But they're great if your business requires notes. That is true. Email, sending it through, that's a great feature. Forecasting, I think, is probably screwed up more than it's used well anyway, so I wouldn't put that as a super win. Composer windows, I think that's like the quick actions and those little things you can do without having to leave your place. The file previewer, live feeds. I don't know about live feeds. Oh, basically you don't have to refresh your page to get the feed information. So if you have a feed page layout, then as things hit the feed, it's great. Streams are strictly for Chatter, and I don't think anybody spends enough time on Chatter to really make that work. Otherwise, they would have kept Chatter and not plan on transitioning into Slack. Sorry, but that's my opinion. pinning a post, drafting post, record linking. And that record linking I never used. That's a good feature. I never even tried it. So like as you're posting in Slack, you can pull in a recent record. I think reports and dashboards are much easier to build out better reports because you don't have to think about the kind. You just build it out as you do it, and it turns into the kind of report you want. Like it goes from a tabular to a summary to a matrix just by building it, not having to decide that's what you're going to build. Favorites, I guess, are okay, but I don't think favorites are that good of a deal. Search is definitely better. Lightning Console, Flow is definitely a win, but only after you get good at it. Setup tree and object manager. Well, that's for the admin. App builder, service setup flows, dialer. You got to pay for dialer. You got to pay for Salesforce Einstein. You got to pay for high velocity sales. So yes, but it wouldn't be on the test because you got to pay for them. So yeah, that's the features. That's all of the sections for the object. We just completed objects and applications. How about that? 20% of the test. We're at 19 plus 20. We're at 39% of the test as far as Trailhead's concerned. So when we come back.
Yeah, I mean, you said this test was really hard, but so far none of this stuff seems very relevant to what I would expect.
Well, we're not, it's about to get rough because we're not going to get, you're about to eat that statement because look at all of this in the next module. So all of these are in the next session, or not, we're not going to get to them, but this is everything for in the next.
Those are certainly items that I am less familiar with or not familiar with at all.
Yeah. What is this one now? We're in cloud applications. It's only 6 questions, but they're pulling 6 or 7 questions, but they're pulling from a wide base of stuff, you know? So I think this one's going to be a little more challenging. Oh, wait a minute. How did I miss something before? Auditing and oh, thank God. Auditing and monitoring is next. That should be pretty easy. Event monitoring, which we looked at before, and the event monitoring analytics app.
I'm sure there's somebody out there who uses that.
Yeah. Well, events are important if you're at the architect level for sure. Where's event monitoring? Auditing and monitoring. Okay. Is that right? Did I? Oh, auditing and monitoring. Okay, here we go. So, our prep for next session was that. Put all that junk in there and now let's clean this up. Questions, comments? How was it for you guys today? Thanks for being here on time. Like you were last week, but I took a nap. Oh, event monitoring. This is my March memory gap. But it is, you are dealing with 6 questions. So it could be, you know,
Could make or break it.
Could make or breaky. Could make or breaky. Well, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah. And we didn't get anybody live to watch this time, but we did get more content up, and this is building out. So I was telling Chen that we're working on, so I've come up with this idea that the path to hiring a competent Salesforce consultant starts with the first 5 certifications, right? Admin, platform app builder, sales, and service consultant, and then wrap it up with advanced. Right? And if somebody's watching this video and they're like, all right, I want to do that. I want to become a, right? You have to have that's certifications. But if you're really serious about doing it, and you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to help our company grow at Sales and Technology, then, you know, connect with us at Sales and Technology, and then start getting accreditations. So one of the things we're going to start working on too is spelling it wrong. Accreditations from the partner learning camp, and get partner accredited, and then in that time frame over the next 6 months or so, helping us, you know, with our YouTube channel and advertising. I'm going to start doing on the YouTube channel. We'll have customers that want help, and when we're going to need people to do the work. And part of your training is to work together as part of our team, and you know, you'll get experience, and we'll document your experience, and we'll log your experience, and we'll be able to show people the results of your experience. And that's going to make you a more viable candidate when you want to get a job, because a lot of people just want a job. Some people want 2, but a lot of people just want at least 1, right? So we want to help everybody get their job, because that's, I'm pretty certain, the value proposition for, you know, Super User Academy moving forward. Because I'm starting to get, I'm working on the certification funnel we did last year, Patrick. I'm kind of revamping that a little bit, adding some automation, but also just putting all the right offers in place to give people their ACE certification. Well, somebody's calling me now. Who is calling me? Hi, this is
You want
Dominic.
to turn off your recording?
I am. Hello? Somebody just called the Super User Academy. Huzzah.
Want to turn off your recording?
I'm gonna, but look, but I'm gonna call it the ACE certification, right? To be ACE qualified, ACE qualification, accreditation, certification, and experience gives you an ACE qualification. And then we'll promote to employers that they ought to hire ACE qualified people, right? If you're going to hire a pilot, get a Top Gun pilot. If you're going to hire a consultant, get a Top Gun consultant. And we're going to work that program. So that's just what that's what we're coming. That's what we're looking to make the offer and all that kind of stuff, and then do webinars on it, whole 9 yards. All right. Well, that was it. I'm going to stop the live stream. And I'm going to